How are you doing today? So, when I started doing stuff on YouTube, it was just me telling stories about things that happened to me or memories. And I have a story for you today. I'm going to try to make it all make sense because some of it might be, that you had to be there kind of thing. But this happened a few years ago. Now, some of the regular YouTubers have met my sister Barb. She was here. She came on panel a couple of times, and she was here for some of our trivia nights. Well, Barb, her son Andrew used to come down a lot in the summer times and stay with me. And the one summer, I think he was probably around 14 years old. He came down with like Barb and her husband Alan and Mary and Andrew came down for a couple of days, and then they left Andrew behind. They went home, and Andrew stayed for about a month. And so when it was time to be taking him back, we had talked about him riding the bus home, you know, and then talking to Barb, we had decided to instead meet halfway. I'd take him up, and they'd meet us around Scranton, which was like a 3-hour drive for both of us. But I never told Andrew we were doing that. As far as he knew, we were still doing the bus thing. And so that morning, we're getting ready to go. And Andrew, of course, was screwing around. He went over to say goodbye to Aunt Brenda. And I'm up at the car, and I'm ready to go, me and my mother, and I'm yelling at him, come on, let's get going, let's get going. So, he came and I said, yeah, you're screwing around, you're going to make us miss the bus. And we get in the car and we're driving. And of course, he falls asleep. So he wakes up a little while later, and we're on Interstate 80, headed east. And he says, where are we at? And I says to him, well, from you jerking around, we missed the bus. Now we got to figure out how to catch up to it and get you home. We'll see if we can catch it here in Lock Haven, I think I said. And then we're riding down the road, and I'd say stuff to my mother like, okay, we'll never catch it there. Maybe we'll catch it at the next place. And I'm saying stuff to Andrew like, you know, if your mother gets to that bus station, you don't get off that bus, she's going to be freaking out. He's like, yeah. And this was, before everybody had cell phones. So one of the things you got to know about Andrew is he was one of those kids who never shut up. And we're going up, and he was deathly quiet in the back of that car. And so I knew he was back there thinking about, oh, I really messed up now. And yeah, he's right. If I'm not on that bus, my mother's going to freak out. And it was funny that whole time I was feeling bad because I knew he was being tortured, but at the same time, I was also laughing to myself because I knew he was being tortured. And you got to understand, that's part of an uncle's job. You know, everybody in the family has a job. Like aunts are supposed to be the ones that, take kids shopping and stuff like that. And grandmothers make cookies. Well, uncles, they are the ones who are supposed to teach the kids bad habits and, torture them. So anyway, we're heading up and I keep making excuses for why we don't stop at different towns to see if we can catch the bus. And we're finally getting up there by Scranton. And said to my mother, I said, there's that Denny's up there. It sort of sits up on top of the hill and looks down on the road. If we go up there and sit in that parking lot, maybe we'll catch them driving by. And meanwhile, of course, Denny's is where we're supposed to be meeting. And we get there, we go, and the timing was just like perfect. We pull into Denny's, and Barb and them come pulling into Denny's also. And I'm like, oh, look at this. So we park and get out of the car, and everybody's like saying hello. And then I look at Andrew and I go, well, you going to tell your mother what you did? And Barb got this look on her face. I go, crap, what now? And Andrew goes, well, I was jerking around, and so we missed the bus. And everybody started laughing. And he's looking around confused at everybody. And I don't know if it finally sunk into him that this was the plan all along, where if somebody said something, I think Barb might have said something, or no, Andrew, something or other. So then he's just like looking at everybody, and he's like, he says, he goes like to his mother, he goes, oh, you knew? And he looks at his little sister, he's like, Mary, you knew too? He looks at my mom, he's like, Grammy, you knew? He's just like, so anyway, got that over on him, and we went in and we got something to eat and talked and laughed, and we went our separate ways. Oh, and so when we met up there, one of the things is Barb brought me this loaf of bread. She'd gotten a bread machine and she was experimenting with bread, and everybody was making fun of her because she was making these loaves of like rock hard bread. So she had brought this loaf of bread, Anyway, like I said, we go our separate ways. We're heading home. When I get home, I call Barb to let her know we got home and see if they got home and stuff. And again, we're on the phone and we're laughing about how gullible her son is. But we had made fun of him and stuff. And so then I said to her, so guess what happened to me on the way home? She goes, what's that? I said, well, I decided just for the heck of it coming home that I'd come the back way and go up over Black Moshannon Mountain. In fact, I said to her, me being the genius I am, she says, well, wait, let me tell Alan. It was her husband at the time. So as I'm telling this story, she's repeating him, Alan. So, him being the genius he is, he decided to go up over them. I said, so get up on top of that mountain, and it's pitch dark. And there's no lights up there or anything. And, she keeps repeating everything to her, Alan, so he's up there. I said, and here I get a flat tire. And I said, so I get out and I'm changing that tire. And I just got done, put the new tire on, was putting stuff back in the trunk, and I hear bushes rattling on the other side of the road. And, again, she's like, so Alan, he hears bushes rattling. I said, I'm there, and here come out of the bushes this huge black bear. And she's like, oh my God, Alan. I said, so, and it was like coming right across the road towards me. I didn't know what to do. And I just reached into the trunk and grabbed the first thing I could, and it was my toolbox. And I just took and I threw that toolbox, and I don't know, adrenaline, luck, whatever, but it hit that bear right in the forehead. And the bear like stumbled, it stunned him for a second. And of course, she keeps repeating this. I said, so then I just slammed the trunk. I got in the car. I drove home. She's like, oh my God. And she, get out. So then he just drove. And I said, so then I get home and I go to get stuff out of the trunk. And here, my toolbox was in the trunk. And I realized what I had grabbed and thrown at that bear and stunned him was that loaf of bread that you had made. And then she goes, she realized the whole thing was just a big joke. And so then I said, yeah, so I guess it's your son that's the gullible one, right? And, with another laugh. So that's, one of those things it goes into the family memory bank where every once in a while somebody will, all you gotta do is someone will say, well, I was just jerking around, and you remember the whole story and stuff. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you guys. And like I said, I know some of you have met Barb, kind of. And I got a call from her daughter a little bit ago. Barb died this morning. Don't really know what happened. It wasn't expected. So it's just memories. I just thought I'd share that with you. I'll see you later. And I take my picture down. You'll see family picture up there, and Barb's over to the left side of the screen. Talk to you later.
And that's the way it is.